Hello folks, I'm coming at you again. It's Wednesday, December the 2nd. I haven't been up for very long, so if I look a little bleary, that's why. I get up and open the house up, make coffee, and then I come in here and I get going. So I necessarily need to talk about myself today in regards to this record that is going to be coming out. I can say it now, in a few months. So I kind of need to tell a bit of my story. Hopefully FPE Records can use this. So I'm just getting going here, and I'm just ripping. That's the way I always do this. I don't plan too much. I just go. So I can't tell my whole story in one video, and I don't know that I need to tell my whole story to make the connection, but I have to tell some of it, okay? I come from a musical family for generations, musicians as well as preachers and ministers. And so music is on both sides of my family. When I was a little boy, I loved records and music. Just totally fascinated me, and it still does. So what I'm trying to get at is I'm a dedicated fan of music, but I'm also actually a musician. Now, coming up, I was undisciplined in that I didn't know so much want to learn an instrument and practice it. I just wanted to play. And musicians all throughout my family, I can't read music. I had a hard time reading it, okay? Something like dyslexia, anyway. So my history is mainly of playing bass in bands and then drums with my family, but I also play guitar and some keyboards. But all along the way of making music and working a regular job, but recognizing deep inside what am I really about, it's all about the music. The thing that I thought to myself was, as the 80s progressed, is that when MIDI came along, it's like, that's what I need. You know, I can't read music, and I don't have any money to hire musicians to realize my ideas. But if I could get a hold of MIDI, and it took me a long time to afford to get MIDI, then I could realize my ideas. I hope this makes sense, folks, because I'm just ripping. There's so much I want to say. But it's all related to the fact that I signed to FPE Records, who, this is one of their main artists, Nicole Mitchell, Black Earth Ensemble. So pleased that for practically everyone is what FPE stands for. So glad that they picked me up and signed me. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is this. There's a reason why most of my latest music has been electronic and done by me, one person on MIDI, is because I feel a real kinship with Frank Zappa. Frank Zappa said in the documentary that one of his prime objectives in making music was and forming bands or anything, is to realize the idea as close as he can to what he envisioned in his head, so he can listen to it. And that, I completely relate to that. That's where I'm at. I want to realize ideas so I can listen to them, okay? Now, there's so much I want to say. So I've been making music for a while now. I've been in a bunch of bands since the 70s, still in bands, play bass. And I understand the connection that most people have to live music. There are some people who won't even listen to music if it's made electronically. They won't even give it the time of day. And I just want to appeal to those people and everyone that is more accepting, which is the reason why my music is made electronically is quite simply I cannot afford to pay musicians to learn it and play it the way I want it played. I've had a couple of my own bands in the past, and I've never been satisfied. I can't get people to play the music the way I can play it. Now here's the deal. This all goes to FPE, but just hear me out, because I've got the records to prove it. I can play this music. I can play all these parts myself in real time, but I don't have the resources or the money. So thank God for MIDI, you know, and good software. So my latest album, which is about to come out next year through FPE, I hope this makes sense to you. Part of it is online now on my Bandcamp site. The last 2 or 3 things I put on there have songs that are going to be in my new album, but they don't sound like what it's going to sound like on the new album at all. But I really enjoy, personally, like Zappa, when I complete pieces to the point where it's pleasing through with MIDI and electronics. I really like it. Now I have a lot of recordings here where I've added me playing real instruments to these tracks, and what I keep finding is that I personally enjoy the idea just like it is in the electronic domain. I really like the way it sounds, and I get feelings from it. Sometimes some of the things make me cry. So this idea that electronic music has no soul, I don't accept that. I have a soul. It touches me. I already know that a lot of people have been touched by my music. So I just want to say these things, hoping that maybe FPE can use this or somehow to help promote the idea that I've joined the label. I signed a 1-record deal, but the first thing that's going to come out is a compilation. It should be coming out possibly by January, of their latest roster of artists. I'm about to join the roster. If you go to FPE Records, I'm not there yet. This is part of getting me there. People need a story. People need a reason. What's this artist about? And I guess I'm trying to explain in a haphazard fashion that as a music lover, but a person who is a musician, has always struggled to find ways to manifest my ideas, mainly because of economics. So, bottom line is I'm real happy with this new album. Real happy. And let me show you some of the other things that I've done, because I've been making records for a while. So, the first record, and it's only one I have left because I didn't manufacture it first, but Dereck Nice is the first solo thing that I did on CD, and then I got it pressed up on vinyl. I'm playing real instruments on here as well as programming a drum machine, but there's a lot of bass and keyboards and guitar work on here by me. This is all stuff from the 90s and up to about 2001. So there's that album. I got a lot of records, and I'm just going to do the solo stuff besides the band stuff. Number 2 came out on CD in 2004 with a different cover. But this is when I decided I'm going to make one more effort to go beyond being just a hobbyist musician. You know, I printed this up professionally, gave it a barcode, and it set a goal. I did reach those goals. I did. Then the BC is a big part of this. This is where I started my manufacture of albums, is with Dereck 3 through, and people in the BC loaned me the money to do it. I mentioned it in passing in a video, and I got messages from people saying they would loan me the money, and I did, and they made this. So there's that. Real instrumentation on here as well, me playing everything. Then I made some ambient albums, Sonospheres. Where's the first one? Because there's only one. Here we go. So, using sampling and electronics, I made 2 albums of ambient works called Sonospheres. Number 1 came out in a real limited edition of 100 copies, and it sold out immediately. This is the least pleasing pressing that I did because I wanted to do it fast. I used a small pressing plant out of the south, and the quality is so-so, but again, here's another, and there's one of my collages, so there's that album. Then I made number 2. I'm real happy with this collage. Sonospheres number 2. Made this in an edition of 250 copies, 125 on green vinyl and 125 on red. Real proud of this too. Now, even though the primary thing I'm doing on this is sampling, there's also me playing real instruments on here too. And I defy anyone to identify any of the samples. It's stuff you've heard, but that's my goal, is to chop stuff up so that you have no idea. Then I made Flyover. This based on a movie soundtrack my first movie soundtrack, Flyover Country, small film. Real pleased with this. This is like where it's like, yeah, this is using MIDI, and it's all electronic. I'm real happy with how this came out. Still holds up to today. You folks that have it have told me you love it. So I was on a roll with that, and I ended up making another album, Murphy. It just recently occurred to me why I called this Murphy. That's a collage off the internet using some other pieces of art, but that face that's partially obscured, it just occurred to me. Murphy from RoboCop. That was the subconscious connection I was making in my head. There's nothing RoboCop about this, but that was what this was suggesting to me, and I named the album Murphy. Again, Murphy is the son of Flyover, and this came out really good. These were all mastered professionally by Tom Ware in Omaha. Because I didn't have the money when I did this, mastered this myself for vinyl, and it came out. You guys that have it, I mastered it. Pretty good. Okay, then this label out of Greece contacted me and said they wanted to put out some of my archives, some of my old material from the 90s, 80s and 90s. And so this came out, Myths and Realities, on the In Fact Recordings label out of Greece. Once again, this came out in a limited edition, 250 copies, 125 on blue splatter, and those were sold in the US, so the blue splatter sold out completely, like almost immediately. And then the other half were made available in Europe through the label, and these are on gray vinyl. Now these might still be, there might be some of these still available for sale through the record label itself. In Fact Recordings. I'll try to remember to post the link. The point I'm trying to make here is that making this new album with FPE Records is part of a continuum, okay? This is not new to me. I played on other people's records as well. I didn't even mention it, but the Hart Newhouse, Dave Newhouse, who was in the band The Muffins, and Mana Mirage is his current incarnation of that, what that started. I'm on one of the Mana Mirage albums. I'm a guest bass player on one track. So pleased. And then one of the more recent things that came out a couple years ago is I'm on this Numero Group release, Planisphere. It's a picture disc, various artists, and the record itself is a actual planisphere that can be used along with this chart to map the sky at night. Now, I did a licensing deal for one song with Numeral Group to get this on here. And I'm going to be real honest. If they see this, that's fine. I didn't have any say about how they were going to use the song that they asked to license from me and paid me for. I wish they had put the song in something that was better. Most of the tracks on here are just fair. And so, in a way, it kind of works against me being able to sell this, because my track is the best one on here. It's a decent track. It's an old track going back to 82 or 83, Dream Music. But nothing else on here really compares. And I listen to music objectively. So I could end up owing the record company for doing this deal if they don't sell enough. This is the story behind records that a lot of people who've never made a record don't know. That artists go bankrupt, tax write-offs. It's a funky business. So, just to wrap it up, I am now on the FPE label along with Nicole Mitchell's Black Earth Ensemble. Check her out. If you don't know this stuff, one of my albums of the year last year is on FPE, Turning Jewels into Water. I'm honored that I'm on this label with these people now. Another one of their albums, Turning Jewels into Water, on FPE. And another of his acts that I really like is Sina Sopro. If anything, you could say she's like a Black Bjork. If you want to, I wanted to quickly try to describe her. Experimental artist, black woman, very unique. That's why you haven't heard about her, because she's not trying to get on the radio, but she's doing some innovative things. So I just needed to talk about that a little bit, folks. There's always more music to talk about, but I needed to shine a light on the fact that FPE Records are about to put out my next album. It could be as late spring. It could be sooner. The first thing that's going to come out on FPE is a compilation. They're putting it together now. It's going to feature one of my tracks that's not on the album. And I don't know if it's going to be digital only or not, but that's about to drop. And so that's why I'm doing this. I've talked a long time. I hope this makes sense. I'm happy about this development and can't wait for the record to get here.